It was from this terrace of New Delhi's Red Fort that India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru delivered his inaugural address in 1947 when the country gained independence from Britain. On Thursday, while addressing crowds for the 73rd Independence Day celebrations, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that by revoking the autonomy of India-administered Kashmir, his government has finally unified the country.
The job that wasn't done in the past 70 years, our new government has accomplished within 70 days. The revoking of Article 370 and Article 35A was passed by both Houses of Parliament with a two-thirds majority. Today, every Indian can proudly say, one nation, one constitution.
Prime Minister Modi says the change in the region's legal status will usher in a new era of development. But international investors seem to have their doubts. The Indian rupee has slipped nearly 3% in the past week, and the standoff with neighbouring Pakistan over Kashmir isn't the only concern. Some sectors of the economy are struggling. Auto sales have fallen dramatically over the past 9 months, and the industry has cut 500,000 jobs, with more expected.
They say that commercial vehicles are the first indicators of the health of economy. So if commercial vehicles are declining over the last 6 months, then it is a wake-up call for more than anybody else, the government of the day.
Analysts say the slowdown is spreading to other industries.
There has been dip in consumption overall. Even if you look at consumer durables, you look at aviation and many other areas, there has been a dip in consumption. So which has also resulted in a lowering of the sentiment as far as the market is concerned.
The International Monetary Fund has lowered its GDP growth outlook for the year from 7.2% to 6.9%. Official data shows a third of new graduates can't find jobs, and the unemployment rate of just over 6% is at a 45-year high. In an effort to revive growth, the central bank has cut interest rates to their lowest in 9 years, but some businesses are calling on the government to do more.
Government has to come forward and help the industry in achieving what they would like to do. And we feel that a stimulus package is something that a government should really be looking at.
The government aims to double the size of the economy to $5 trillion by 2024. But weaker domestic and global demand, compounded by regional political tensions, are putting the brakes on growth. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
For more on this, Arvind Panagariya joins us from New York. He's a professor of economics at Columbia University. He was previously the chief economist of the Asian Development Bank and vice chairman of the Indian government think tank NITI Aayog. Welcome to Money Talks, Arvind. Now, India's 73rd Independence Day is taking place against the backdrop of an economy that's in relatively bad shape with high unemployment and stalling growth. How would you characterize the state of the Indian economy right now?
Let me quickly set the record straight, Oscar. First of all, in the last 5 years, the economy has grown at an average rate of 7.5%, which is quite decent. In the last year, it dropped to 6.8%, which is a cause of concern. And the quarterly growth rate has been a bit tepid. Nevertheless, I really don't agree with a lot of the analysis that is being produced. This is particularly an auto industry specific problem. This is an industry which has been protected with 50 to 100% tariff rates over a 70-year period. A lot of restructuring in that industry is required. Some of the other white goods industries are doing quite okay. Recent reports that I have seen, refrigerators, washing machines, etc., are selling all well. I do think in terms of the correction, if the government wants to do a correction, it is the exchange rate. I think the rupee has appreciated in real terms about 15%. And against the Chinese currency, it has appreciated 18% in the last 5 years. So that is a correction that's required. Real interest rate remains very high because the inflation has dipped very dramatically. So I think there is still room to cut the interest rate. But beyond that, I would think that the government should simply stay course with building infrastructure. A lot of the stimulus that people are talking about, it should come from the usual kind of public spending, which is in infrastructure and social sectors. So that would be my prescription to the government, that, otherwise the problem in India is that anytime there is an industry which does poorly, on account of its own weaknesses, often runs to the government saying that, oh, unless you bail us out, unless you do something for us, the whole economy will collapse. I think there's an old trick the industry has used, and I would sort of take it with a lot of grain of salt.
Okay, as we know, Narendra Modi won his second term as Prime Minister in May with an even bigger majority in Parliament. He's promised to deliver more jobs, deliver stronger growth for India. But more than 5 years into the job as Prime Minister, why hasn't he been able to deliver on his so-called modenomics, or at least deliver to the extent that he promised?
Well, I think the narrative itself needs a bit of correction, because 7.5% growth over a 5-year period is nothing to feel bad about, and particularly when the economy that the government inherited was in a very bad shape, inflation running at double digits, current account deficit was very large, and everything was stalled in the central government. So inheritance was bad, and the growth in the last 2 years had dipped to below 6%. So overall, it inherited bad economy, pulled it off to 7.5%. Now you can complain. Maybe some of the reforms were slower. In particular, I have written very extensively for a long time that labor laws need to be reformed in India, and that I think is something they need to deliver on. Privatization of a lot of the public sector enterprises, in which those enterprises are serving no particular public purpose, and they can as easily be carried out in the private sector. That needs to be done. So a number of these reforms need to be done. That is required. But I would sort of take with a grain of salt any sort of suggestions that the government has not delivered. In fact, even on the reforms, 2 major reforms were done. The Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, very difficult reform that they did, as also they did the reform on goods and services tax.
Okay, Arvind Panagariya, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for your analysis here on Money Talks.